The busy man that you are.
Mate, it's just ridiculous now.
And where do we are today?
I'm in Derby.
It's Friday Night Lights, ladies and gentlemen. RCB take on CSK in a pulsating clash. It's a Southern Derby, is what they're dubbing it back home. But we have a South London himself, who's, of course, going to be previewing this for us. I'm talking Mark Butcher. And Butch, thank you so much for your time. I think this is a tasty clash indeed. But before we get your thoughts on this preview, I want to play a certain clip out by holding you hostage to what you said last time about.
I'm romantic, always have been, always will be. So I'm going to say finally, Virat, AB de Villiers, and a brand new bowling attack that looks to be able to hold its nerve when it's needed the most. And plus the fact that they're not playing at home. You know, they're not going to be playing at the Chinnaswamy where they get smashed all over the place for fun. So I'm going to say that the RCB finally are going to win an IPL. Now, it doesn't take a machine to beat that prediction, but as I said, I've gone with my heart, not with my head.
You're going with your heart, not with your head. Do you agree with what you said the last time around, or are you going to change your prediction?
Well, I mean, they had a rather nasty shock at the resumption, didn't they, in their first game out? But I still think they have the makings of a really good side. The fact that they're playing against Chennai today worries me slightly because it's an outfit that has so much experience, and that, you know, that definitely hasn't counted against them. All that age, all those over 30s in their team are still doing the business. And of course, they just came off the back of an incredible win in their first time back. So I'm a little worried for RCB, but not that worried that I'm going to change my mind.
Okay, let's see how it moves on in terms of your predictions and whatnot. We'll start with RCB because that first game that they had to resume the league was KKR. Was it an aberration as such? Because you don't expect that kind of batting from anyone, let alone RCB.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the fact that they're playing in Sharjah will please the batters on both teams, really. I mean, it's just an absolute run fest there. A tiny little ground, flat pitch. So if ever you were going to sort of, you know, make good or make better a poor batting performance, then the place you'd want to do it is at Sharjah. So I think it's an aberration, yeah.
It is an aberration. KKR fans would disagree with us and say, you know what, we've bundled RCB out for low totals in the past, so just watch your words carefully. So we'll tread carefully. Don't worry about that. But what about CSK? Because like you mentioned about them, at the end of the day, 24 for 4, 24 for 5, essentially, with Raidu being hurt and then toppling the champions by 20 runs. I mean, that goes to show a champion team, right?
Yeah, they are. They're unbelievably resilient. You know, again, you mentioned the sort of, you know, the fact that they were 5 down and most other teams would have folded from there, but they have just got so much know-how in that team, so much experience, so much know-how. They won't panic given a scenario like that. You know, the thing for RCB, if they're going to get past Chennai in this game, is that they're gonna have to come out and sort of muscle them off the park almost. They're just going to have to put them out of the game. With the bat if they can. The stats here are all about chasing, which is an interesting one. You know, the run chases are successful sort of 60% of the time. And so, you know, with RCB's batting lineup, with the spin that CSK have to go for, if it turns out to be that way round, that RCB are chasing, it could be one heck of a contest.
Yeah, let's come across and talk about the ground right now, about Sharjah, because I want to show you this depiction, and if you could see these numbers on the screen. Now, this is IPL 2020, Butch, a comparison between the first 30 games of the IPL to the next 30 games. Now, the telling stats here is Sharjah, because it started off to be a batsman's paradise, but more often than not, it's helped the bowlers in the fag end because the pitches have got tacky and, of course, playing in used pitches. Now, what do you make of these numbers first? And do you think that, like you said, it should be perhaps chasing more than batting first?
Well, only because you would only say that because there's been such a gap. You know, the pitches haven't had the chance to get tired because they've not been played on. So at the moment, you go back to looking at the numbers for the first 30 rather than the second 30. You know, difficult to tell from Barbados where I am at the moment, but you would imagine that it will be flat still, right?
Yeah. No, I get that, and let's see how it really goes on because they're dubbing this as a run fest, so hopefully you can get a lot of runs and it's a small boundary. And I'm not sure if you played in Sharjah, but you know the ground. You've probably done a lot of cricket there as well. So let's move on to the predictions, because at the end of the day, it does get tight between you and the robot. We'll go with batsman first. Rituraj Gaikwad is what Criclytics has gone with. I'm sure you're going for the king.
King Kohli? Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, Padikar was sort of stunning, wasn't he, in the first half? The left-hander. But Gaikwad's a good pick. Again, you've got to look at people who are batting in the top order. I quite fancy the idea of AB de Villiers doing something special at Sharjah, though.
Yeah, there's AB de Villiers, is Faf du Plessis, but you guys can make your batsman picks. The viewers watching this one with, of course, using Criclytics and cricket.com's webpage. Bowlers, because there's Deepak Chahar in the mix. He hobbled off the last time around. He got a little hamstring, so unsure about his fitness. But if he does play, Criclytics bags him to take the most wickets. There's other contenders in Chahal, Jameson. Who are you going for?
Well, I, again, sort of looked at some of the numbers in Sharjah, and though the bowlers don't enjoy it a massive amount, the pace bowlers tend to do more damage, if there is any damage to be done. And in those circumstances, I was sort of looking at the likes of Siraj or Thakur, and I think I'm going to go with Thakur.
Okay, Shardul Thakur is in a fantasy setup. He would be essential as well, because he could contribute with some runs lower down the order. Who's winning this, Butch, finally? Because we understand that you're covering a game in Derby, the England women versus the New Zealand women. I don't want your prediction on that, but for the CSK one, it's 62% for Criclytics. You agree with the machine here?
Man, I think I do, which goes against my wish for RCB to carry it off. But I just think that there's something about this Chennai outfit at the moment that they don't know the meaning of the word lose, and so I'm going to go with Criclytics on this one.
Okay, Criclytics, of course, going for 62%, like I said. And lastly, before we let you go, it's a quiz question that we often ask all our guests who, of course, preview the games with us. And today, the question is for you, Butch. Which player has taken the most wickets in RCB and CSK encounters? You know this player really well. He's still part of the Indian setup. That's my clue for you.
Okay, well, there's two guys. There's one on either team that are playing at the moment that I would say would have played enough matches to be in there with that. One is Chahal, the leggy from RCB, and the other one would have to be Jadeja for CSK. And given that Chennai is a big friend to the spinners, I'm going to go with Jadeja.
Absolutely spot on. Brilliant stuff. And with that little element of good luck, we wish you a good day at Derby as well. And
all right, cheers.
We'll see you soon. That was Mark Butcher just lending his insights on what could be a cracker-jacker of a game, followed on cricket.com. Until then, say goodbye from me.